This week on NintenDomain, we're talking Xeno. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't have enough winding gears. Let me salvage for a minute. All right, we're going to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And we have an interview with Janet Garcia of Nerd Much, an article writer, to talk about sexism in video games.
I learned what the hell a Xenoblade is.
And is that the same Poppy that's on YouTube?
Welcome to NintenDomain, episode 99, our big Xenoblade episode. Next week, on the 15th of December, we will have our live show at 11 o'clock Central Time, 11 a.m. Central Time, on YouTube/Fingmater, Fingmater. Make sure you, get on there and say hi to us or something, if you can do that. I don't know. This is our first live show. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we won't have any sort of crazy, problems. Hopefully it won't be one of those that doesn't start till 1 or something, because we have all this shit to deal with. But yeah, that's planned for 11 Central, so, be there for that. And of course, if you miss it, you'll be able to catch it later, because it should automatically be put on YouTube, and I'll put it on. You'll have it on your podcast app as well later. Just the audio version. But yeah, make sure and check that out. Anyway, we are your hosts. I'm Trey, Chain Attack Finish Johnson.
I'm John, camping out for Serial Knitter.
I'm Jeremy. Come on, Mikowski.
This is the power of the Monado. Oh wait, this is a different game. Anyway, we're here for your big 99th episode for Xenoblade. Let's do our opening as we normally do. What have we been buying and what have we been playing? I'll start off because I haven't bought anything. I didn't buy anything this week because I'm kind of in the dumps money-wise. My past
You bought Xenoblade?
Yeah, I bought Xenoblade last week, though. I bought it earlier before it came out, so I got that, but aside from that, I haven't got anything. I really want to get 9 Parchments, which there's a demo out for that. It's like a isometric co-op action RPG, like a Gauntlet or X-Men Legends or Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It's like those type of games. You can play it online, too. It's 4-player. It's a lot of fun. I guess you're like... I played the demo, which is like you're in wizard school, like Harry Potter, but, you can shoot spells at stuff. It's the kind of game that I like, and it's... a game I want to play with Jess, for sure. So I like to get that one whenever I get cash. And also Resident Evil Revelations 2. Both of those are on my list, but I just haven't been able to purchase it because, rent week and bills and stuff like that I had to take care of. So hopefully by next week I'll be able to get a couple of those. But what do you guys got for the week? Anything?
I also bought nothing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been uneventful over here.
Well, what have you played, though, for the week? Aside from...
Rocket League.
Yeah. I know you play a lot of Rocket League.
Rocket League.
Yeah.
You're getting your money's worth out of that game, John.
I love that game. It's great.
I've basically only been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I played a little bit of that demo, of 9 Parchments demo. Actually, Jess and I played 2-player golf on Golf Story on Monday. That was fun.
Was it fun?
Yeah, she got the hang of it pretty good, and she actually destroyed me. Like, the first time we tied, and then the second time she beat me really badly, and then the third time I beat her really badly.
She tied you the first time she ever played?
Yeah, we both tied the first time, because I kind of forgot how to play it. But then she got really good at it, and she won, because we played match play, and she did 6 holes in a row, on the second one. I couldn't really come back from that. And then on the third one, it kind of, she won the first 2, and then I think I won, the next, 4 after that. But she got really, really good on that second one. But yeah, we just did the regular 2-player quick play on there, and it was fun. It's cool. I've never actually played multiplayer on that yet, so got to do that for a while. I'm hoping to, for the next couple of weeks, I want to just try to play through all the 2017 games that I haven't got through yet, so I'm going to try to play more Golf Story and Mummy Demastered and all this other shit. Sonic. I'm going to try to play through a lot of those 2017 indie games that I didn't finish. So that's my plan before our episode 102 when we give our Game of the Year stuff. But what did you get, Jeremy?
I bought some stuff. I bought weird stuff, though, for the most part. Well, not weird, but, not directly.
Weird stuff is great. I come here for weird stuff. It's the whole reason I come back and talk to you guys
I hope everyone else is here for the weird stuff, because I got some weird stuff.
Weird stuff is the best.
So I bought Xenoblade, of course, but like you said, I purchased that last week as a pre-purchase, so it'll be ready to rock on Thursday night. But I also bought I may have spoken about it previously. I bought an HD adapter for my GameCube. I'm kind of excited about that.
But this one isn't going to fry your GameCube, right? This
right. Supposedly this one, the design flaw has been repaired, and it won't fry my GameCube.
This is the Mach 2 version, right? Or Mach 3 or however many
this
he's
is
done.
the version. This is like the third version, I think.
Yeah, so Mach 3. This is the
Mach 3.
GameCube HD Mach 3.
So, I mean, I paid a pretty penny for it. This is one of my experimental purchases like I've made in the past. I just like doing that once in a while, I guess, taking a risk and hoping something cool comes out of it. My GameCube dying would not be cool. So let's hope that's not what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm still taking a risk for the hope of like getting some good footage of GameCube games and also Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah,
as a result.
I'm sure those Game Boy Advance games will look great.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
the Game Boy Player wasn't in progressive scan. I know that, but who knows? Like we'll see how well this works.
That's true, and that's a good point that you bring up. But we'll see. I'm taking a shot in the dark here, and we'll see how it works. But I bought that, and I bought this game that I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube. First off, I want to say I only spent about $3 on this, including shipping. But some video showed up on YouTube randomly in my suggested feed. Hold on, before I say that, one other thing I bought that I forgot. I bought another amiibo.
Who'd you get? Oh, have you opened it yet?
I actually bought Bayonetta.
Oh, I have Bayonetta.
Yeah, I bought Bayonetta, the Smash Brothers version.
Have you opened it?
Somebody on the NVC group said, "Hey, Bayonetta's on sale for $7 on Amazon," and she was. So I just impulse bought it because I was one of Bayonetta amiibo.
Which one is it? Is it the player 1 or player 2? Aren't there 2 different ones?
Let me go grab it. This one.
I think that's the same one that I got.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I got. It was super cheap, so I just kind of impulse bought it.
Are you gonna
I did.
Are you gonna keep it in the box, or do you want to open it live like we used to?
I guess I could open one live. Fuck it.
We could do an audio unboxing of Amiibo. We haven't done that in a while.
We've never done it on video.
Well, I mean, nobody will see it.
It's true.
I mean, for those of you without video, Jeremy is tearing open a box which contains an Amiibo.
The card's off. The value is halved.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to see this on video, so it's... At
this point, there's no point in showing anything else. I mean, she's open.
Let's listen to some of that plastic over the microphone. There it is.
There smells like plastic out of a factory.
Smells like Bayonetta. That's cool. Yeah, I got that one.
Cool. It says Sega on the bottom. I didn't know Bayonetta was a Sega game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that, but still.
Well, I mean, is it? It's a what do you call it? Platinum game.
Platinum Games. I think Sega published it, right?
They must have.
It says Sega on the bottom.
Yeah, it does. It says Nintendo also. It says Nintendo, Sega. Weird. Yeah, I didn't know it was a Sega game either. And I played through Bayonetta 1. And through half of Bayonetta 2. Never finished it. But whenever Bayonetta 3 comes out, I'll do a stream of it or something.
But yeah, now I have a Bayonetta amiibo, so that's cool. I'm going to try it on Odyssey and see what happens. but anyway, back to my original
See
story.
if it gives you any witch time.
For the interruption. But so I was watching, on YouTube, this random video showed up, and I just happened to click on it, and it was about strange Game Boy Advance games, which I'm always a fan of finding out about, Game Boy Advance games I missed, because there are a lot of games released for that, and I've missed a lot of them. I don't know all of them. Well, this was a Max Payne port that had been made back in 2003, I think. Well, it contained a lot of vocal dialogue, and the reason they were able to do that is because they had an extra chip in the cartridge. It was made by Codemasters, actually, the same people that made that Treasure Island Dizzy game I've talked about before. And, Line to Spacehead and all that. Well, Codemasters, and they made the Game Genie too. They also made this other game, which is an American Idol game that came out in 2003. And it just looks hilarious. Like they show a brief clip of it in that video, and I end up looking it up on YouTube and seeing a bunch of videos of it, and it just cracked me up. Like I was laughing my ass off. So I decided to buy it kind of on impulse. Once again, impulse buy, but it was only $3.
Yeah,
so,
it didn't break the bank at all.
I'm going to definitely make a video about that when I get it. And you'll get a better idea of what this is like when you watch my video. Or if you don't want to wait, just look up American Idol Game Boy Advance. Look that up on YouTube, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's hilarious.
It's kind of like a rhythm game, right? Sort of.
It's a rhythm game, but a singing rhythm game. So based on how badly you play, it affects the pitch of the character that's singing, who is also like the character itself is like really badly full. It's fully polygonal, so it's 3D, but it's a really bad, like really low res.
I'm watching it right now. She looks like one of those Bratz dolls like kids have, but it was like thrown in the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like completely destroyed. Like the face is all messed up.
Yeah.
Well, what's great is there's a female and male vocal for every song too, so you'll get you can kind of sort of choose your character, and then you can see the variations of each song. So I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be a blast of the past because it's gonna be songs from the early 2000s. So we get to hear stuff like "Livin' La Vida Loca." Well, that was from the late 90s, but we get to hear that. And we get to hear like some Smash Mouth, and some other stuff from like
All-Star
that era. And I'll do a video about it, but yeah, it looked hilarious, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it, and then I was like, wait, it's $3? Hold on, let me think. Oh yeah, wait, I'll just buy it.
Yeah, $3, totally the way to go. Is that all you guys got for the week then?
Yep.
Cool. Let's jump into the news. There's not a whole lot of news, but there's a couple things worth mentioning. I want to make the news kind of quick because we do have an interview later, right before our Xenoblade Chronicles part, so I want to make the news kind of quick. But there seems to be a lot of rumors about this Bandai Namco thing that's going on. Have you guys seen any of that stuff?
No, right, they're having
Bandai Namco.
They're supposed to announce like 8 new games, or how many games is it?
Well, we talked about it last year, but we talked about it last week, but there is going to be a show on the 15th while during our live show, so watch ours and then watch theirs. But apparently they're going to show some games there. And there's some rumors going around about, I guess people are saying that there's a possible Dark Souls collection coming out for Switch. I mean, that's what people say.
Goodness.
The post that I have saved for it now says not available, so it may have been taken off already. But that's a rumor that people are saying. But what's not a rumor is a little game called Mega Man 11 has been announced for the Switch. I hope you guys have seen that trailer.
I've seen that.
Basically looks a lot like Mighty Number 9, unfortunately, which sucks. I kind of wish they would have stuck to the 8-bit Mega Man, or at least do like a Super Nintendo Mega Man. But regardless, it's Capcom, it's on the Switch, so at least they're making some more games for the system. That's always good.
Kind of reminds me, the look reminds me of the one that was on PlayStation. What was that, Mega Man 7 or 8?
The one on Mega Man, I think the one you're talking about is 8.
8, right. 7 was on Super Nintendo.
Where all the enemies, before you'd fight them, they'd have like a little sound clip. They'd like say something to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of heard the rumors going around that there was going to be a Mega Man announcement. It got me really excited for finally a proper 3D Mega Man, which I don't think we ever really got. I guess the Mega Man Legends people have said were pretty cool, but they're pretty different from the core series.
Oh yeah, those are the 3D ones that were on 64. Well, Mega Man Legends 1 was on 64 later, called Mega Man 64.
I gotta be honest, after Mega Man 9 and 10, which were both cool, I was ready for something completely different, and I wanted it to be a full, proper 3D Mega Man game that would just blow my mind.
Yeah, none of those were really that great, though. Oh, you mean 2D, or do you mean 2D polygonal?
No, I mean if we could finally get a Mega Man that feels like a traditional Mega Man game,
but it's a 3D universe.
Finally made the jump into a 3D. I don't know how they do it, but
I don't either. It's so fast paced.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best ones were the 2D ones, so it's kind of hard to. I think it's better to keep it in 2D, but I mean, I'm not really a huge fan of the art style that they're going with here. I would prefer that they went to the 16-bit one, but I really like.
It's kind of bland to me.
Yeah, I really like Mega Man 9 and 10, like those, especially 9. I thought 9 was really good. I played through all of that. I played through part of 10, but I didn't finish. Didn't make it through Dr. Wily's Castle. But those are both fun, and hopefully this one is good. Are you saying that the new design looks bland?
Yeah, the new design looks bland.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it looks great, but at least, like I said, at least there's another game from Capcom coming out for the Switch.
And then all the Mega Man X games are coming, right?
Is there a Mega Man X collection coming to Switch? I think I might have saw that somewhere. Is that what you're talking about? So
there's just a deluge of Mega Man games coming our way.
Well, that's good. I mean, hopefully Revelations sold enough for them to take notice of the system. But speaking of other stuff that came to the system, out of nowhere, WWE 2K18 came out today for the Switch. There's a $60 version and there's an $80 version even. There's a deluxe version that you can get on there. I don't know if I'll pay full price for it, but I do really want to play it. If any of you guys caught my my retro revival video that I made of WCW versus NWO, the intro of it has some stuff from WWE 2K18 in there. Mostly just some glitches, because there's some pretty funny glitches in it. So at the very beginning of it, I have that on there. But I want to play it just from playing at WCW versus NWO, made me yearn for old great wrestling games back in the day. So I hope to play it at some point. I don't know if I can get it for $60, especially because what I've seen, they say it's not the best port in the world, and all the characters look pretty bad. Supposedly it's close to a 30 gig download. It's a 26, 28 gig download, I guess. So Yeah, seeming pretty big, but who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm interested in it. Maybe if I can get a deal on Amazon or it goes cheaper later, maybe I'll get a physical copy of it or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting it too, just because after we talked about WCW last week, I was like, man, I haven't played a good wrestling game in a long time. So
I haven't. I think the last wrestling game I played, like of non-Aki ones, I got a WWE. What was it? Unleashed something? It was the GameCube one, whatever the last GameCube was. I want to say No Mercy, but that was a 64 one. This WWE Day of Reckoning was the last one that I bought for GameCube, which has the most hilarious cover of all time. That was the last one I got. But yeah, I kind of wanted to try the new game and just see how it looks. But yeah, if it's not that good of a port, I don't know, especially for 60. And definitely not 80. I'm wondering what that comes with for the deluxe version. Probably like extra something. I don't know. Hopefully it's not like extra characters or different outfits. But another news thing, which I think is... I thought was pretty crazy. Did you see that Monolith Soft said that they wanted to bring Xenoblade Chronicles X to the Switch? And you guys catch that? That just kind of made me sad because I'm like, I don't want to. I mean, I like that game, but I've put like 130 hours into that game. I don't want to start over again. I want to start over.
Yeah. I want to not only pay for it again, but have to start over again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm determined to beat that game eventually, but yeah, there's no way I can start that game again with all the time that I put in there, and I don't even want to make another character. I want my character that I have to somehow win in that game.
Yeah, I'm attached to my character and his goatee.
Yeah, but yeah, that seems to be. I think that's the most of the news that I got for this week. Is there anything I missed? Or what's the? Let's look at the releases real quick.
It was today's Mr. Iwata's birthday.
Is it?
It would have been his 58th birthday. Yeah.
Oh shit! Happy birthday, Iwata. Hopefully you're somehow overseeing our podcast. I know he's overseeing everything now after he's died.
I mean, he lives in our Switches.
Yeah, so he's overseeing it in some way. So our releases for the week are Neo Geo, Top Hunter, Roddy, and Kathy. I don't know. We should look up what that is. Caveman Warriors, Christmas Night Archery. Yikes. Dimension Drive, Embers of Miram, Human Fall Flat. 9 Parchments, that's already out. Phantom Breaker, Battlegrounds Overdrive, Riptide GP. Oh, Slain Back from Hell. I remember seeing that. That one looked cool.
I was kind of interested in Human Fall Flat. That looked cool.
Yeah. Is it like a puzzle type game involving humans?
Like a physics puzzle game. Seems like you got to launch these little, not stick figure guys, but kind of like bland little characters around and watch them suffer.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. Yeah, Touch Battle Tank SP, Slain Back from Hell, Plantera, Dimension Drive, Sexy Brutal, there's Phantom Breaker Overdrive, yeah, Human Fall Flat, Floor Kids. Oh yeah, Floor Kids. Do you remember that? It was in the in Indie Direct, like the breakdancing.
Floor Kids?
Yeah, the breakdancing rhythm game. I like that it's 1990, not $19.99. This is the price. They like took 9 cents off there for you. The Floor Kids, it's like some sort of weird dancing thing. Let's see what it says here. Floor Kids is a new breakdance battle game featuring unique freestyle gameplay, rhythm challenges, and multiplayer sessions. Discover stylized hand-drawn graphics by award-winning animator John, set to an original soundtrack by world-renowned scratch DJ producer Kid Koala. Innovative controls allow you the freedom to play the way you like with a dynamic scoring system that rewards your moves based on musicality, originality, and style. Build up your crew of B-boys and B-girls, unlocking new characters and locations as you cross the city, bousting hundreds of different moves and countless combinations on your journey from the corner to the club. Yeah, no, I remember seeing that from the Nindies thing. There's also Yodanji. It's some sort of Zelda-esque looking thing. Teslagrad, Red Game, Riptide, Vostok, Embers of Miram, Plague Road, Gunbird, Tennis in the Face. Should win something for best title. Anyway, there's like 20 more games coming out this week, and we probably won't get any of them though. But maybe Floor Kids.
Supposedly you're supposed to be, according to Reddit, you're supposed to be able to preload Ukulele tonight, but I don't see anything on the eShop. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh yeah, Ukulele's next week. On the 14th. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure we'll mention that on the live show if either of us get it. I mean, I don't know if I want to pay $40 for it.
I won't. I'm not paying $40 for it if that's what it costs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I probably won't get it, but maybe. Just we'll wait to see what people say about it when it comes out. That's what I'm thinking about on that one. But if that's the news for the week, let's go into Xeno. Let's get into blading.
Oh, one more thing. I heard there's a rumor that, Nintendo put out a tweet about be sure to watch the Game Awards. And so people were speculating that some kind of announcement is going to happen from Nintendo at the Game Awards.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. Is that that's the Spike one, right? Like the Game Awards that are always bad and incorrect?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. The ones that are all they're all like presented by Chic Quattro or something like that.
What's the Mach 4?
Yeah, I never paid any attention to those games because most of them are pretty shitty, or those game shows. But I mean, Nintendo has been on them in the past before, so wasn't that the first time we ever saw Breath of the Wild was on that?
Yes.
When they did that video with Ionuma and Miyamoto.
So, that's true.
So yeah,
maybe I did hear from I don't remember if it was a YouTube video or a podcast or what. I can't remember what it was, but that Nintendo was giving out a bunch of passes to this event.
Oh.
So that was what was kind of giving like credence to this rumor that they were going to announce something, or at least show something off at the event.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so they would want to get people around it. Oh, and there's also rumors, people are thinking that there's going to be a Xenosaga HD also. Do you remember Xenosaga? It was a PlayStation 2 game. I actually bought the game when I first got my PS2. I got it because I wanted to play an RPG on PS2, and I ended up not liking the game and returning it to GameStop. Well, trading it back in, so hopefully maybe I'll like it better. But the main character from that, Cosmos, is in the Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is interesting. So you do have that. So I don't know. I'd like them. They should do a Xenogears thing. That was a PlayStation 1 game that I always kind of wanted to play. It's apparently the same people who do Xenoblade, so I'd check that out if it was on there. I don't know. Do you know when the awards show is, John?
I don't know. Let me look it up real quick. Let's see.
What is it called? Like the VGAs?
It's just called the Game Awards, which I take issue with. It's just like some TV network made this show, and they're speaking for like the entire industry. You know,
it's on. It's on tomorrow at 5:30.
Tomorrow at 5:30. Oh, we might have
5:30 your time, 7:30 my time.
Oh, maybe I should go down there.
You should go. It's at the Microsoft Theater.
I probably should.
Oh, if you could actually get in there, you should totally go. You could be our correspondent from.
I'm working tomorrow night. Yeah, I can't go.
Yeah, I'm not working tomorrow. I might watch it
if you don't go. PUBG's going to win Game of the Year.
No,
PUBG's not even a game yet. It doesn't
even have an official release, right?
It's still just a demo. Well, I mean, it's coming. Beta. Isn't it coming out for Xbox One or something? I don't know. I've heard people talk about that PUBG should be Game of the Year, but it's still beta. Like nobody's even reviewed it yet. Should not get Game of the Year. That's how I feel. I don't know. I've never played the game and never will, so I don't know. Don't ask me. But I guess people are into that. People who do online PC games or whatever.
There's like people who have had their whole careers made by that game already.
Yeah.
It's only been out for about a year.
Yeah, well.
That dude, Dr. Discontent, I think is his name. He's like a famous Twitch streamer.
I was hoping his name was, I hope his name was Dr. Discontinued. That's what he'll be when PUBG's done, right?
But he's just a guy that's really good at the game that's done like a YouTube or Twitch streams of it. And he got like really famous from it. And he just got like Twitch Streamer of the Year. Like he got an award for it and all this crap.
Yeah, that's another that's a category from Game Awards, right? It's like number one YouTuber or number one whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
The main issue that I have with the Game Awards is that they're not like a governing body of the industry that's coming together to make these decisions or whatever. Like the Academy Awards, these are all the industry professionals coming together under the Motion Picture Academy. So it makes sense. But the Game Awards is from Spike TV. Like, they have any authority,
Well, I mean, it's like the MTV Movie Awards, right? Like they had no authority on movies whatsoever, but they still had one.
But the MTV Movie Awards at least called themselves the MTV Movie Awards, not just the Movie Awards.
Well, I mean, they're the only one showing Game Awards, so they're kind of just getting up their own ass on it,
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, there's no other network showing them.
I mean, the only thing, I'm just going to read, I'm not going to read all the categories, but the main one, the Game of the Year, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, it is on there, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Are there 5?
I own 3 of those 5 games. Wait, no, I own 4 of those.
No, you own more than that. You own everything except for PUBG.
I do.
Which isn't even a game, so you don't have to buy it. You could just download it, and then you own all of them.
No, you have to pay for it.
Do you? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows how much I know.
It's like $30 still. I almost did buy it about a week ago. I just wanted to try it, but I'm glad I didn't because.
Well, I mean, you'd probably get killed because a lot of people play it, but whatever.
And there's supposedly people that glitch it out that figure out how to like do better by like exploiting like programming errors and shit.
Oh yeah, and they got to play it on like the smallest amount of graphics or something to make it smoother, right? Something like
I don't know.
Low resolution.
It's unknown to me.
Yeah,
but I know it's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, we're all players unknown here. Anyway, let's get out of this and get to the topic of the week and our interview. So, Jeremy and I bought Xenoblade Chronicles 2, of course, for this week, hoping to outdo our Xenoblade Chronicles X episode, which who knows. But what we have this week that we didn't have in that episode is we have a special guest to come on and talk about stereotypes and sexism and that type of thing in games, because we can't get into Xenoblade before we talk about the crazy design of Pyra. So let's cut to that interview right now. All right, so this week we have a special guest on our show, Janet. Say hello.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Well, can you just do a plug for yourself real quick? We'll do it at the beginning and probably at the end too. Just let me know what do you do or what are you working on right now?
Yeah, sure thing. So once again, I'm Janet. My handle across my socials is GameOnesis. So I do a YouTube channel under that name, and mainly I write for Nerd Much. So you guys can find my work on there. You can follow me on Twitter and get any of my writing. But yeah, so I do a YouTube channel that has just gaming commentary on things going on in the industry, or just my own things I've been playing, or I did a Switch review case video, so stuff like that. And then for Nerd Much, I do mainly opinion pieces on things. So I just had a post go up on the flaws I see in Super Mario Odyssey. I also have done stuff on ARMS Twintelli. I've done stuff on Animal Crossing and what the learning curve for that game is, and just kind of random things like that, just depending on what feels relevant to what's going on in games, but also what I've been experiencing. It's basically what my writing looks like.
Very cool. All right. Well, what have you been playing lately on the Switch?
For Switch, I've been doing some of the post-game in Odyssey, mainly, because part of me wants to 100% it, but then I'm also yeah, maybe not. So I've been digging into that a little bit. And other than that, that's basically it for Switch right now. I'm playing through Batman, the Telltale series, which is glitchy. So I don't know how easily I can finish that. The game's amazing, but the glitches are literally can stop you from playing it. So, I had a major one in episode 4, and I had to redo episode 4 2 times, and I'm still not through it. So,
wow. And that's not,
we'll see how that goes.
That's not the one
on the Switch.
Yeah, and other than that,
I'm also, it's really, really not cool. And then I was talking to people about it, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Telltale. And I'm like, that can't be your thing. Your thing cannot be major errors in the coding. I'm also, I just started co-oping Lego City Undercover. So, getting that Lego GTA fix. And those would be the main things I'm playing on Switch right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't played the Batman game yet, but all the Telltale stuff that I played worked fine. I don't know if that's a new thing of there, but I have heard things about Batman being weird and being glitchy.
I had an experience with the Back to the Future game, which I liked that game. I thought it was a good game, but I'm with you. There was parts where it was just kind of glitchy, the voices weren't in sync, or things would just pop into the frame all of a sudden. So yeah, it seems like they kind of rush it a little bit at some points.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that, I was kind of reading about it, and I think some people thought it might be because it's, on so many different platforms that, some things just got kind of lost in translation. But yeah, that sucks, because it's one of, the best games I've played, especially story-driven, and one of the best, Batman lore narratives I've experienced. Granted, I don't read a whole lot of the comics, but, yeah, it's really good otherwise. So, I wish they would just, patch that a bit, but... we'll see.
Well, you heard that they laid off 20% of the company, right? Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
With Telltale?
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't because of Batman, or I hope this isn't coming from that. I guess that's crazy that happened.
It doesn't seem like it would fix the problem to get rid of a bunch of staff.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe that's what created the problem. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Really
it's either
bad.
one or the other. It's either a cause of, or they did that because I don't know. But yeah, that sucks. That's super glitchy like that. Lego City Undercover is pretty fun. I played that when it was on Wii U, and there wasn't a co-op on that. But it's a cool game. It's very much about the old Lego toys, when there was just a space set and a cop set, whatever, before they got into all the license stuff and all that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, it plays a lot like I've seen part of one of the movies because I was around some kids that were watching it. And I was surprised at how funny it is. So, and I found the game to be pretty entertaining as well. It's this really strange, goofy humor that manages not to be weirdly immature either. So they do a good job balancing that. It's surprisingly enjoyable in terms of the writing. So yeah, it's been a solid campaign so far. I'm only about an hour in, but we'll see.
For sure. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that game. Well, I wanted to talk, like, this week is our big Xenoblade Chronicles 2 episode, and I wanted to talk to you about the elephant in the room, I guess, Pyra, and, like, her design and all that stuff, and just, I guess, sexuality in games and that type of thing. Now you told me that you haven't actually played the game yet, or you're
that
not.
Is correct. I have not played the game, but I have watched the first 17 minutes, and I've looked at some reviews and things just to kind of get familiar with it.
Sure. And I think you told me you're not into that genre, the JRPGs.
Yeah, basically, I've never really played one, so I guess it's a little weird to say I'm not into it, but I haven't really experienced them, and there's such big games that I'm always intimidated by really large games because I barely finish the little 8-hour, 16-hour things I already take on. So even a game like Pokemon is huge to me, even though it's only maybe 40 hours. It took me 80 to complete. So I'm also a really slow paced gamer. So I'm whenever it's really big, I'm just maybe not.
Have you played Zelda then? The Breath of the Wild?
I am working my way through Zelda. Yeah, I've conceded that I won't be able to finish it until summer because I teach for my regular job, and it's just too much time to be able to finish it. But I'm 2 Divine Beasts in. I'm 80 hours into the campaign.
Okay, yeah, because it's I was thinking of big games. I'm like, that game's huge.
Yeah, take your time with that game. It's great. It doesn't need to be over yet.
It's been really fun. I did solve the puzzle for I think my 3rd Divine Beast, but it's I forgot which beast it is. It's the camel one.
Okay,
I think. And the boss is really powerful, and I couldn't do it. And I'm okay, maybe I'm not doing it right. And then I looked up, a guide just to see if I was fighting the boss correctly. And they're all right, so you're gonna want to put on rubber pants and grab your master sword. I'm I don't have any of those things.
Oh,
so I just left, and I'm I gotta find all this stuff. And then I just haven't gone back since. But yeah,
that's the lightning one, right? The one that's the ultimate boss.
It was so hard, and I was oh, maybe I'm not doing it right. And then I looked it up. I'm nope, I'm just very, very weak.
Having the Master Sword
that was the
really
first
helps.
boss that I fought, and the last one that I defeated.
Oh my god,
yeah,
that's a rough one.
Oh, you started in the desert? Wow,
I did.
Oh wow,
how'd you get all the way over there?
Yeah, it's hard to get to.
I don't remember. That was the first one that I found, and I think it was 30 hours in or something like that. I hadn't even seen a Divine Beast. But yeah.
Yeah, that was the 3rd one that I did, and I just looked online and used the Master Sword for it. It is a lot easier if you have that, because, it gets powered up, when you're fighting any sort of boss, for sure. But, let's talk about the design of Pyra. One weird thing I found out about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is that a lot of the art is done by different artists, so it's kind of doesn't all match, that's why, weirdly enough, she looks a certain way, but other characters don't. And I don't know if you noticed in the game is that some guys have the big anime eyes and some people don't. Some of them look
it's super strange.
It's weird, yeah, because some of them look like the characters from the Uncanny Valley characters that you'd refer to them as in Xenoblade Chronicles X. Some people look like that, but some people look like these anime characters too. So it's kind of and once you unlock more of the blades, you can look at picture of art of them, and it says who designed it and all that, and everybody has a different artist and whatnot. So it's kind of a lot of that. But yeah, I'm not a super huge fan of Pyra's design, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be like that for the story. I think she's a strong character and all that from what I've seen. I've only played maybe 15 hours, maybe 20 hours. I've noticed that the game
there's a character that says she's taken a different form at one point early on, so I don't know. Maybe she took that form for a reason. We'll find out. But yeah, I don't know.
Which character?
Pyra.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
Apparently, she used to occupy a different form. You kind of find that early on in a conversation she has with someone else.
Oh okay. Yeah. There's also she's I'm sure you got into the part where she says she's been reborn. I'm sure that's what you're meaning, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just got that last night. But
no, I'm referring to a conversation she has not long after she is introduced.
Oh, okay. Because later in the game they talk about how they die and get reborn without their memories or whatever. If their master dies, some stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of I don't know. A lot of JRPGs, I guess, have that trope or whatever of over sexualized characters, like Tifa from Final Fantasy VII, comes to mind, which I never really cared much for her, and I didn't really care for that design either, like even when I was in high school and all that. And same thing with like Lara Croft and all that sort of thing. Like I didn't really care for the way that, you know, I grew to like it later. Like I like the newer games that they did of her and all that type of stuff. But I don't know, just talk about some of the articles that you've written, or just your perspective on that sort of thing. I mean, you put a really good thing on Facebook on the NBC group, which I definitely liked, because there was all this crazy thing about, like, you know, basically about Pyra and like stupid posts about boobies and stuff like that. Like my girlfriend's on there and she almost left, and I know some other girls were thinking about it too. And I feel like it's definitely something we need to talk about, like about this game, and just
for sure. It's always interesting when stuff like this comes up too, because so many people in the conversation might not be playing the game, and that's always like, I think, a little bit awkward for some gamers. Like there's definitely a subset of the community that's like, hey, if you're not even playing this game, like, you shouldn't be talking about it. Like, you're not allowed to have an opinion if you don't know the full context, which I can kind of understand, like, why someone might come from that area a little bit. But I think also, like, you can still critique it without having to, like, fully know, like, all of the lore behind every, like, aspect of it. That's definitely where I fall into. Like I said, I didn't play, I haven't played Xenoblade. I don't necessarily have an intention to, though it seems kind of like an interesting story. So I might dive into it. I don't know. But yeah, on my end, I mean, it's just, she's definitely like a really like hypersexualized character, really tropey, which I think in some ways too, like putting the big social issues aside of like why over-sexualization and designing characters for like the male gaze is like a negative thing. Even if you just take all that and put it aside for a second, it just kind of comes off as lazy to me. Like, I mean, her outfit it's, you know, if I think of it in terms of like cosplay, it's like cute and elaborate, and like there's some appeal there. I don't think the art itself is like badly done. It's just that it's, you know, it's over the top. I think too, her proportions are like really awkward and weird.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were like, oh, like, you know, what's the big deal if she has like really large, you know, breasts? Like some people have big boobs, like it's not a big deal, you know, body diversity. And I'm like, okay, well, everyone's down for body diversity when it comes to like having like huge boobs, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not so much for other aspects of it. So that's one interesting thing that I kind of see come up. But also, it's the design is just odd. And there's like very unrealistic like physics in terms of like the way her body moves, like, you know, like kind of like the boob physics aspect of it is also off. So, and that's just, it sticks out in a really like noticeable way, in a way that just kind of makes it seem like, okay, this character is very much like designed, at least visually, for that, right? She might still be an interesting person as like a character or have depth. And obviously she's very powerful just in terms of like the weapon that she is. So there's power and like autonomy there. And you know, she takes the initiative early in the story to say like, hey, this is what you need to do. Take half my life force. And then like, we can make this happen if you're down to do it. So like, she definitely is like her own person and things. And that's what makes the design so weird. Something I've like thought about before and I've written about, because I wrote an article on Nerd Much about Arms' twin Tully. If I'm saying her name right, or Twintel, I forget the pronunciation. And how she's interesting because it's kind of like a little bit of both, right? She definitely has like this very like well proportioned, like accentuated like butt, right? That's like the big thing for that character that everyone was like freaking out about and excited about. And I thought, you know, that was interesting because like on one hand we're into this design, but it also is still like a sexualized thing. And like, what does that look like and what does it mean? And I think for that character, even though it's still not maybe ideal, but I think it works for her personality, for the lore, the background of this idea of her being a celebrity and this person that like loves to work out and things. So like it made some sense. I don't think that makes it like necessarily 100% okay either, but I can see how that plays into who she is on a level that's deeper than the fact that like we like to look at characters that are like good looking, right?
What about the hair?
Yeah,
though?
and
what about it? I mean, I figured that
so
was
you feel like that was an aspect of her character, and it wasn't necessarily just, you know, supposed to be the visual draw of that character in general.
Yeah, for sure. Like I felt like it fit the lore. I can still see why people might take issue with it, and I think there are still issues with her design, especially when you think, oh, okay, this is a woman of color, and like it's cool, she's like badass and like, you know, really like well built in terms of she's like, you know, really curvy. But that's also becomes its own trope, right? So I feel like one issue that kind of comes up a lot when we think of like how women are represented in games is that like we're so critical of like literally everything, and a lot of people who aren't into those conversations get really tired of it. They're like, oh, you don't want them to be like super sexy, but also you want them to be like, you know, have sexual autonomy. So like, which one is it? And people get really like frustrated, and they feel like, oh man, people are never satisfied with anything. That's why we don't have women in games, because people aren't ever happy. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's just that when we have so little representation, like you want to be critical on every level. Even characters I like have their own like slew of issues because they fall into some trope, right? Whether it's like the you know, you mentioned before with like Lara Croft with like the like I forgot the name for that trope, but it's like, you know, the femme fatale kind of trope, like the badass hot woman. And then there's also like, you know, other characters that fall into still tropes, like even like Samus, like she's an awesome female character, but you know, she still has the zero suits. There's some level of stuff going on there, and then it's cool that like you don't know she's a woman right away, but it's also like one of the most popular women in games. Like you don't even notice she's a woman because she's in like all this armor. So like, what does that say? You know, there's like different layers into everything.
But they've also kind of
like everyone assumed she wasn't a woman. Like it kind of like
it did say it in the beginning of the game. Like it does say he. Like they even try to take you off.
Oh,
like,
it does
in the opening paragraph.
I didn't even realize that.
In the paragraph of the NES game, like if you let it go for long enough, it'll like give you this story about this bounty hunter that's landing on the planet or whatever, but it does refer to the bounty hunter as a he, like in that. So, I mean, I think they wanted to even throw you off even more by that. But I mean, on the subject of Samus, like, she, even now, like they've kind of made her move like a little bit more feminine and all that, which I thought was kind of weird, like especially like in the newer games and like Smash Brothers as well. Like they've done kind of more of that to make her look more female, I guess, in the suit. Which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's just something I've noticed with that, you know, aside from the zero suit and all that. I wanted to ask you, did like the hair, like the twin tail hair, like that was kind of offensive in its own way too, right? Like that she was fighting, I don't know, as like a stereotype.
Yeah. I've actually read a lot of articles on that, and like, you know, I definitely encourage anyone listening to like, you know, do a quick Google of that, and you'll find a bunch of different think pieces from different writers. And I've seen it from both ways. I've read mostly just articles written by different African American women, different Black women who have like commented on that being something that's like cool, but also something that can be a negative in the sense that like, what does it mean for like a Black character to have weaponized hair? And some people found that to be a really empowering moment of like taking something that, you know, Black women are normally like shamed for on a societal level, like this idea of like not having quote unquote good hair. But then also like, it's kind of a double-edged sword too, because it's like, okay, you have weaponized hair in a world where, you know, like girls are still policed for how their hair is, or like, oh, she's Black, or at least like, you know, quote unquote, like twin tails Black. I mean, in the universe, we don't really know how race works. That's always weird in games too, but like we can kind of like accept her as a woman of color to some extent, I think, is basically the interpretation that most people have. And in ARMS, you have like some level of race, especially because they're like mostly human looking, even though they have like their weird arms. So that's like the whole thing. Yeah. And then some people were like, oh, well, you know, she has this hair, but like it's, you know, how like limiting like Black hair is in video games often in terms of its depiction. We even see that in games like, I think The Sims might have finally started adding things a little bit for that, but you know, how even in diversity, a lot of times that's still like kind of, we might have skin tone, but we don't have other like facial or physical features like in our characters. So yeah, you know, I don't really have a necessary opinion on that. And I think I don't necessarily have one because it's not my experience. So I can't really, like, I can think about both those things and I can see both sides of that argument, but I don't personally have like it one way or the other, just because I'm not as invested in that narrative because it's not my experience. But yeah, I think that was like definitely an interesting conversation going on about her design as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of like most fighting games have always been fairly stereotypical, especially like Street Fighter and like Punch Out and stuff like that. So yeah. So I was thinking of stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, they're all kind of stereotypy. Like Min Min has like ramen arms and like stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. Right. So it's, I don't know. It's like, it's a weird, difficult thing that I think games are like like figuring out still, you know.
But I did like that there was like equal amount of like male and female fighters on that, like Street Fighter. You know, there's only like one female fighter and a bunch of males. So I felt like they were taking a step in the right direction in that way. You know, and not all of them are sexualized. Like I forget the one in the robot. Like you don't even really see any of her.
Yeah, I forgot her too. She reminds me a lot of Mei from Overwatch. Just in her design, like she's kind of like short and she's like kind of positioned as like having like a sweet personality and things. So I thought that was kind of interesting how those two mirrored. And I think on that note too, that might be something that like Xenoblade kind of has going for it. Because I know I saw I think you posted earlier on Facebook one of your favorite characters right now. I forgot what the name of the character is, but there's like other women that are like less depicted in that way, which is helpful. I think that's the other thing we have to think about too, and I think that's why people take so much issue with that character design, because since she's like one of the like focal points of the game, like why does she have to be the one that's like all like super, super sexualized? Yeah, no, it's really, when she's like one of the more focal points.
Yeah, no, it's really strange because Pyra is the one that's most like has like the booty shorts and like the like the non-natural looking body and all that. But it's weird because she's kind of the only one like that. I mean, I guess like one of the main bosses, like her blade is like super sexualized, but it's like Nia, the cat girl that's in there that has the tiger, like she's wearing just like a full on like a sweater bodysuit thing, you know, and it's not really, she's not really sexualized at all. So it's kind of like, and like that, and the villain who has that sexualized blade, she's just like she's like a soldier, like a woman soldier that just wears like a uniform and all that. So she's not either. So it's like, it makes me wonder like I don't know why they took that step for Pyra, because I feel like it should have been made somewhat into the story, you know, like why is she, I mean, I understand she's designed or whatever, but they don't really explain that. But you could also say that it's like a fanboy thing, you know, like I understand like a lot of Japanese stuff is like that and they want to try to sell waifus or whatever, but
yeah, I mean, that's like exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
But I mean, there wasn't, I mean, I guess like one of the characters had like a belly shirt or something in the original Xenoblade Chronicles, but I didn't feel like everything was that much, you know. But like I said, this one's like gone super anime also, so it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the design, and I kind of wish they would have gone a different way, or at least like explain as to why they were doing that. People seem to be throwing fits about it. Like I see the stupidest shit on the internet, like nowadays. Like I said, because I saw somebody put a meme up there that's saying that everybody was getting pissed off because the game wasn't censored, and I'm like, that's not even the point. Like you're completely far from the point here, and I feel like a lot of people have been doing
Wasn't
that.
There, didn't something get censored in the last Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yeah,
it was a young
for one of the characters.
No, it was X. It was Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it was the young girl that was in the team that's supposed to be like 12. They basically made her like shirts like higher, you know, instead of her wearing like low cut shirts and all that stuff, which is super creepy already, and that shouldn't be in there. You know,
it's creepy that should never have been a thing that needed to be fixed. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's basically what they did was they changed her outfits because she was fairly sexualized as well, but she's supposed to be a kid. You know, she's supposed to be like 13, so it's like
and isn't the age of consent different in Japan than it is in the United States?
I don't know, but
I'm pretty sure it is like lower.
Yeah,
that might not be right. I think that's right.
But I know
that's
it's
not that low.
Yeah, so that would be why. So yeah, I found it weird that people definitely were drawing parallels to that as well. They're like, oh, is this one going to get like, is her costume going to be, you know, censored or nerfed because it's coming to the United States and things like that? And I don't know. I think the other thing too is people get so weird with like character design in terms of like, you know, like these like anime-esque girls wearing sexy clothing. Like you can get that kind of content from a lot of other places and a lot of other games too. Like if you want risque women games, like there are plenty of things out there that you could play.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. People just kind of put so much emphasis on it for, I don't know. They're like, oh, it's because it's creative freedom. But I'm like, yeah, it doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's free from criticism. It just means that you can do it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I did read some of your articles, and I don't remember which one it was, but you did mention like, you know, the defense of people being free to wear what they want. But then that character was created that way. That character didn't choose to be in that apparel. You know, that's how they're presented to you from the get go. So there's like a distinction there.
Yeah, exactly.
So why does Pirate need to appear that way? Like, is it because a 12-year-old boy thought her up or whatever? Like, because that's her character that she came from, or was it just a hypersexualized character for the sake of selling merchandise or whatever?
Yeah, but she was. Are you talking about like Rex, like what Rex thought of her or whatever? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she is like fully formed when he finds her.
Right, that's true.
And that's also kind of a weird thing. Like she almost kind of, I don't know. She kind of reminds me a little bit. Have you seen like the new Blade Runner and like the like the fake girlfriend or any of that stuff?
I saw it.
Have any of you seen that?
Mm.
She kind of reminds me of Joy a little bit, I guess, where she kind of does everything for Rex, but it's like, is she actually choosing that or is she not choosing that? I don't know. Because like when
I
mean, spoilers from the very, very beginning of the game. This is like the first few minutes, but I mean, Rex gets killed like in the very beginning of the game, and she like sacrificed half of her life to save him, you know?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a weird, like she's practically never met him. Like he dies and goes to this world where she is, and she revives him. And then it's like, and she's always like saying like, you know, you're great, like you're the best, but she doesn't really know him. You know, it almost feels like, you know, it kind of feels like the pleasure bot type of thing that's always like supposed to always say good things about whoever owns it, you know, whether it feels that or not. It's like kind of what I thought from it, which I guess that could be a whole other thing. But yeah, it's just interesting, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you start to add all that up too, it kind of like brings up the question of like, you know, who is this character? It's like, it kind of like, I guess, increases the negative impact of her being designed that way because she's like very much in service to the protagonist, which makes sense in some ways because like that's how kind of game narrative is usually designed. Like when there is like a protagonist that you control, everything's kind of centered on that person being like everything because that's like how games work. But, you know, that once again being also tropey of like, also that kind of whole trope too of like the female character or sidekick, it could be a sidekick or an animal or anything. And there's like a whole bunch of, there's like an article that exists too, I forget the name of it, where it's like, that mentions like, your representation isn't good if your like woman could be replaced with like a really intelligent like pet or something.
Oh yeah.
Or sidekick. But yeah, where like she's kind of more powerful than the lead is in a lot of ways, but it's still like positioned in that, which makes sense in like narratively because I know she's like a weapon. He has to be the driver. Like a weapon needs its driver, but but still, you know, it kind of still falls into that idea.
At least like not all the blades are females, you know, and it's just all drivers. Like, did you ever see that remake of Death Race 2000? There was an old movie called Death Race 2000, like about a future show where everybody has to like race from one side of America to the other, and like whoever you kill on the way there you get points for. It's an awesome movie, the original one is. But they did a remake of it, and the original one had like half female drivers and half male drivers. And the remake, they were all males. And like all the women were their sidekicks, and I was like, what's going on here? You're like going backwards here. Complete a deep cut, obscure reference there, but it just reminded me of that, I guess. At least they're not doing that. You know, because they're like, in that they have drivers and navigators. Navigators are like their second in command that shows them like where to go or whatever. And I think the new one took place in prison or whatever, but it was still like there's no lady drivers. They're all just, you know, they're all just navigators. How do you feel about I'm sure, I mean, I always feel bad when a game doesn't give you the option to pick a female or male, like to start off with. I understand this one's like written around the player Rex, and at least it lets you like alternate between Nia and Rex and all that. But that always, I mean, in games like Zelda or Mario, you know, they're kind of set in that. But I mean, just I'm sure that bothers you. I mean, it bothers me too. Like when you don't get the option to pick one or the other, like when you start out.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends for me on what the game is. So obviously there are some games that like you said that are kind of set in stone. Like the franchise is what it was already made to be. So like when you're Link, you're like Link. Even though there is no like there's different versions, Link, Toon Link, all that other stuff, and like these different like, you know, I'm not gonna pretend Hyrule Historia makes sense because it doesn't, but you know, either way, you're always linked to some extent. But for me, that's more of a case really of like pushing for, you know, more games where if there are some games where you can choose your own character and some games where you are a set character. I just want to see more games where you're a set character who's a female character. Would be really the thing that I want. I think a lot of women probably feel similarly to this, right? It's not so much that I like need to be a woman all the time. It's just that it's either male or you can choose. It's like often not positioned where it's just a female character, which is why games like Metroid are so cool. Indie games like Severed, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it as like a game, I still like appreciate the fact that like it was okay. Let's look at this from Sasha's perspective, because that's our lead now. So just really seeing more of those options is something that like I kind of look for and hope that will come in like franchises. So maybe if at some point in the Xenoblade universe, because it's like a bunch of games, they're not all necessarily connected, it would be cool to see something that's more from a female character, like that's in a mainline game, because I know we have also the issue of like you think of Uncharted and like, oh, you have the Lost Legacy, but it's not really in the main series, right? And it's like these side moments and side games are when women can really appear, which is, you know, unfortunate because it kind of positions it as being like a spin-off or a side thing, not really its own thing in its own right.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, like, yeah, Pokemon even, it took them a while for you to, like, be able to change genders. Like, didn't it take, like, wasn't until, like, the third or the fourth game, I think, before you could actually, because I know you couldn't do it in blue, or I think it was after.
It took a really long time.
I mean, wasn't it Sapphire and Alpha, or Sapphire and Ruby when you could finally do that, or was it later than that? I don't remember, because I
think that might have been the first one, because I remember I didn't play a lot of the old Pokemon games. Like, I played a couple like on the Game Boy, and then a few on the GBA, I think, but I know I played Alpha Sapphire, and you could choose your gender on that one.
Well, yeah, that one's later one. Yeah. But I mean, like, I know, like, Blue and Red you couldn't, and Gold and Silver you couldn't either.
Yeah.
But as far as
you couldn't for a while. And then even in, like, Sapphire or Alpha Sapphire, like, you could choose your gender, but you couldn't choose your race. So, like,
that's a whole nother thing too.
Sun and Moon, which was, and probably some other ones too. I didn't play X and Y. But yeah, so, like, and then that stuff always takes, like, way longer than you would think. Like, we see the same thing in Animal Crossing, right? Like, in terms of, like, you can choose your own gender, but you can't, like, choose your own race. Like, you could tan in New
I was gonna say, you basically just gotta stay under the sun for a while. Yeah.
It wasn't really the same thing,
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, definitely. I was just looking over your post that you wrote on Facebook, and I wanted to make sure that I mentioned everything. One of the worst, like, arguments that I see people on the NVC group doing was the whole shirtless thing, where it's like, oh, all these guys are not wearing shirts, and it's like the same thing, which it's not really at all. Like, there was one girl that made a comment on there that was like, well, if it was like a character that had, like, a huge giant, like, swinging dick around, then, like, maybe it'd be different for you, and you'd be a little bit more like...
right, like the Hawkeye Initiative. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that campaign that went through.
What's that?
Or not. Okay, so it's pretty good. You guys should give it a quick Google. It's some amusing stuff. I forgot who started it, but it was this initiative, like, in, like, the comic book industry that was talking about kind of pushing back against the design of, like, female characters, or, like, the way that they're drawn. So, like, even if you think of, like, Spider-Gwen and, like, her being positioned in a certain way, that kind of makes her look sexual.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, if we drew Spider-Man like that, he wouldn't have, like, his ass sticking out in that specific way or anything like that.
Yeah.
So then the Hawkeye Initiative was people drawing male characters in the way that female characters are drawn. So it'd be like Hawkeye, but he's, like,
I'm looking at this
really, he's, like, curving really hard, and, like, you can see, like, the outline of his crotch, and he's, like, just positioned in these super ridiculous ways. And whenever we see, like, for the most part, with some exceptions, whenever we see men, like, hypersexualized in like commercials and things, it's always kind of for laughs. It's like, haha, it's funny to, like, see this guy positioned as being super sexy, because men aren't positioned like that. They look ridiculous in it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, women, it's, like, a lot more standardized, so it doesn't seem ridiculous. It's just like, oh, it's just, it's just good marketing, or whatever excuse you want to make for it. But yeah, I thought someone on the comment thread on that made a really good point of saying, kind of in reply to, like, what about the shirtless men? They're like, well, since games are still, like, marketed towards men, even though we know statistically it's not the majority of who plays, or it's like an even split in terms of gender and who plays games, that really becomes more of a power fantasy, right? If you're the male player, then you are, this character, rather than, like, it being like you're supposed to look like that character. It's more like you're just kind of, you get to embody that ideal. It's not like it's not made for me to, like, find sexy, like Kratos isn't made to be hot. Like, he's fit, and I guess that's, attractive, but he's not, like, positioned in a sexual way. The only time he's sexual is when he's, like, having, like, sex with Aphrodite or whoever in, like, mini games and things, right? And you're the player acting on that. Which totally makes it different. It's also weird that people bring that up, because, like, pretty much people that bring that up never actually care about male representation. They just don't want to hear about female representation. It's never like, oh, there's not diversity in male representation because the men are always straight. It's never anything like that, or anything of substance. It's just that, well, I don't care if, like, whoever is attractive, so you shouldn't care about, like, this sexy woman. Why does that bother you? If this doesn't bother me, it shouldn't bother you. And it's kind of just made to, like, negate people's feelings rather than to actually enter the conversation, which is always frustrating to see, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a misdirect, too, I think. It's like, well, what about this? It's like, well, it's not about this. It's a different thing, I guess.
Yeah.
People throw at you.
But you're right on it being negating, because it's like, well, if you don't care, why are you commenting? So you are commenting in the hope of detracting from the conversation, not adding to it.
Or you just want to feel better about however you feel about Pyra or whatever. I don't know.
Get a bunch of likes or something for what you say.
Well, people do that all the time where they just post like things that are offensive or they'll be like Zelda sucks just so they can get like a ton of just to get a bunch of comments, It's really annoying. It'll be like, hey, I want to play a game that's like this. Tell me what to play. It's like, okay. It's weird because all this, like, all the fighting about Pyra and all that, like, I'm in 2 different Nintendo groups, and this was all, like, on NBC. Like, I'm on another one that's, like, nobody really mentioned that very much. Except for, I think, that stupid meme that I talked about where the one guy was like, everybody's mad that it isn't censored. I saw, because sometimes you see that somebody posted multiple things, and I saw him posting both of them. But I didn't really see as much craziness, I guess, in that one than I saw on NBC. But
yeah, it really snowballed.
Yeah, it's snowballed.
Trolls, as you would call it, the trolls, the people that were just like throwing stuff out there trying to get a reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I was
really annoying.
I was feeling pretty upset about it too. Like I said, my girlfriend was like, I don't think I want to be a part of this group anymore. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, people are being crazy. I don't know. It was ridiculous, but it seems to be calming back a little bit, I guess. But I don't think anybody's view has really been changed on it or anything.
No,
like that,
I don't think so either. It's super weird. Yeah, I don't know. And then people just get like strange and immature about it. It's like, I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's discomfort or just like ignorance or just, I don't know, but it's just strange. Like, yeah, people will just be like, oh, well, hey, I like video games and I like boobs. So I like this character and like, and it's not even so much that, it's just like the way it's said. It's like, well, is it sexist to find women sexy? It's like, no, it's not. But like, can you not be weird about it? Like, I don't know. There's like a line between those two things.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really, really strange. But yeah, people get really, well, I think people just get inherently defensive when you criticize something that they like. Especially if you're like, hey, this might be problematic, because they're like, oh, you must think I'm a bad person because I like this. And you're telling me that I shouldn't like it. And it's not so much that I'm saying that people shouldn't like it or buy it. I'm sure some people might have that position, and that's valid as well. But I don't know. I'm like really big on the camp of you can like stuff that is totally like problematic or has issues. I mean, and like my go-to example is Mario. Like, that's such a cliche like story, right? The damsel in distress thing. But I don't care. Like, I mean, I care, but like not enough to not play the game. I can still critique that and know that that's true. Like, you can't, like, I cannot say there's good female representation in the Mario universe, minus maybe Rosalina, but I still love the games, so I play them. But like, if someone were to approach me with that, it would just be ignorant to say, oh no, like, that's just like, why would I defend it? Like, they're right, but the games are great, so I play them. Yeah.
I mean, you have to basically take it with a grain of salt, I guess, even though I think that Nintendo's like kind of come around, like realizing that they have a lot of female gamers, and I feel like they've made, well, especially like Mario 3D World, like they made a lot more female characters playable and stuff like that. And even though like the end of Super Mario Odyssey, I was really hoping that it was going to switch to like Super Peach's Odyssey and you get to play as her for a while, but it didn't. But at least she's out there, like, traveling and all that, and you get to find her in different levels. Like, I was hoping it was going to be kind of like Galaxy 1, where like you just switch to Luigi, like after you beat the game. Like, that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been
I was surprised they didn't continue with Super Princess Peach. That there was only one game in that series.
Well, that game was its own thing. Did you ever play that game, Super Princess Peach, Janet?
I never played it, but I did hear about the problems with it.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of. I mean, I bought it and I did play it, but I think I ended up like taking it back or trading it in or whatever, because it was kind of a super offensive game. Like, I mean, like one of her powers is crying, so it's kind of like her different powers are like her different emotions, and it's kind of like, I don't know. It made me feel dirty playing it. I was
it's like her like powers mood swings, which is like really messed up. But then I don't know. There's also I know like it wasn't Game Theorist, but it was on the Game Theorist channel. Like, they have like that subsect that's like Ganjin Goomba, where he like analyzes stuff.
Yeah, because it's like a Japanese culture thing also too, right?
Yeah, like it's from like the Game Theorist channel. Like, if you dig through it, you could probably find it on there. And they talked about how Super Princess Peach is really like based on like folklore related to like this one specific god who had like powers really similar. So like, I mean, I don't think they meant it to be that way, but definitely it still comes off as like sexist. Like, you don't have to do something on purpose for it to still have the same effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's the other kind of side of that. which is interesting, but still unfortunate for Peach. Maybe one day she'll get her own like quality game.
Yeah.
Like Luigi's really come onto his own with Mansion and stuff like that. So I think they just maybe need to find what her angle is in the market, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I think the reason they didn't make any more of those was probably that I don't think it was received very well. Like I said, especially over here, was where it's kind of like,
I just don't think it was that good of a game in general.
Yeah, I also don't think it was that good. Yeah, I don't think it was good. See, you can't be problematic and bad. Yeah. You gotta at least be quality.
Yeah, so I think that's why they stopped that. And they also been like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Like, maybe that was not the right angle at all for Peach here. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Is there anything else you want to say? I know we're keeping you up like fairly late here. Like we can.
I was just gonna watch old sitcom episodes that I've seen already. No, I think that's about it. But yeah, I mean, these are the kind of things that will remain an issue for probably like a really long time. I mean, I think we also forget that like video games are so young as a medium.
Sure.
And I think that's also, a point of tension in the gaming community. Like there are a lot of people that are really pushing for, we have that cliche, games are art and things like that, those cliche conversations. But within that is also like the, the social aspects and like the different like kind of like lenses of criticism. Like games criticism didn't exist the way it does now, like, like a few years ago, even, or a decade ago. And that, that's with also us being more mindful as a society in some ways, right? Being more aware of different issues in terms of like, even what does gender representation look like, right? What does like sexuality representation look like? Where are the other ways that, representation isn't happening or is happening? It's, often based on who's doing the analysis, right? Like, I don't think as critically about like the depictions of ancient Egypt as I do like Mexican culture, just because that's not my perspective, right? And that's something I have to work on. But there's like kind of that group of people that are really pushing for thinking of those things a little bit more. And then there's a group that's like, I just want my games to be games and I don't want to think about it. And the fact that you think about it and talk about it near me frustrates me. And there are just people that'll be, angry about it, even though no one's making them engage with those ideas. Yeah. But the fact that the conversations are even happening, there's very much that camp of like, I don't want anyone to mess with my game. I don't want my game being censored. I don't want my game being less of whatever I decided it is, right? If these are my JRPGs, this is what it is. And this is how it is and how it like should remain. So yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of keep working through that as a industry and community, but that unfortunately means that repetitive conversations have to continue to happen until stuff kind of gets better, which I think it has. Definitely to some extent, but yeah, we got a lot of work to do and a lot of hours to play in these massive worlds. But yeah.
I feel like people should just be more open-minded about that and just think about what other people might think about this game that you're playing, and just not don't be so offended by it if somebody says like, oh, well, I find this offensive. Like, I feel like you should just try to think of the thought process that somebody else is having about this and maybe how they got to it, and then you can see a different part of the game. And I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 would be a lot more interesting if there was a story in there as to why Pyra looks the way she is. Or like maybe she used to be a pleasure bot or she was a slave or something like that. You could totally write a whole nother part to it and make it a more interesting game because of it, instead of her just looking a certain way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And I mean, games are more, of course they're mainstream, but they're more ubiquitous, like to the point where like almost everyone plays video games. So there's more of a market to be sensitive of that's playing these games, and that's a good thing. And I don't think that games are going to become worse for being more considerate to all these things. Like they're going to get better.
Oh yeah,
because they're going to be more universally acclaimed and more universally like appealing.
Well, then they'll find more interesting. I feel like they'll find more interesting things to talk about. Like if Monolith like somehow notices all this hubbub about the design of Pyra and all that, maybe like Xenoblade Chronicles X2 or Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or whatever they come out with next will actually address that and like bring that into the story, and it'll make the game better. Make the game series better. So I feel like it's good, to say things about it. Just people shouldn't be such jerks about it online. That's what I'm saying. But I mean, I do enjoy the game, and I think that people should still play it. But like you were saying, play it, but like analyze it, and just try to figure out how what you feel about it, and hopefully we can grow from there, and things will get better in the future.
Be willing to hear what other people think too.
Yeah, most importantly, listen to what other people say instead of just automatically fighting in the comments. But thanks for being on the show or being our guest for this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Hopefully have you again in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, did you just want to, one more time, just to let us know like where we can find you on the internet?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So once again, I'm Janet. My handle is GameOnYsus, which is spelled Game on YSUS. It's a play on Dionysus because I'm a mythology nerd and I like beer, so I'm like, okay, I'll mix it with games.
Nice.
So you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook under that. I have a Facebook page. My YouTube is also GameOnYsus, and once again, I write for NerdMuch. So you can just find nerdmuch.com / I think Jan Gark or author Jan Gark just to get to my actual page with the content I make. But yeah, I do articles on there. I do 4 articles a month approximately. I'm going to start doing some video content on there too, which I'm really excited about.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely check that out. But once again, you can find that all through my Twitter or my Facebook, which will be at GameOnYsus.
I'll put a link to it as well in the notes for the episode, so you can find
thanks, man.
All right, cool. Thanks again.
All right, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me.
You.
So yeah, I mean that was crazy. There's a lot of stuff we talked about there for sure. Does that make you? I mean, I felt that Pyra was always designed weirdly. I guess ever since I saw her, and it doesn't really make sense that the way her character is designed in the game. And I wouldn't have been upset if it was designed differently, or if they wanted to keep it like that to get the young Japanese kids to like it and all that. They could have at least written a story in there as to why she was dressed like that, or why she looks so much like a pleasure bot. You know, I think that would improve the game in the long run. But as of right now, let's talk about what we've played with the game. Let's give our impressions here. At the very top of the show, I said that we had to hold on to get some winding gears. And have you got to any of those side quests yet on Xenoblade?
I have, yeah. I had to create the... at the top of the show I said, is that the same Poppy? And that's on YouTube. That was an obscure reference. There's like a really popular channel on YouTube called It's Poppy, and it's this sort of like, I wouldn't say she's androgynous, but she's like an android. So she's like a human android kind of character that does pop music, and she's got a lot of really surreal, weird videos she does.
Is that a reference?
Her name's Poppy, and she's like really, I don't know. Like we mentioned Uncanny Valley earlier, like she's almost trying to do that on purpose.
Oh, weird.
As performance art. So anyway, yeah, that's why I was like, is that the same Poppy? But of course it's not. But
yeah, but the Poppy in the game is kind of androgynous too. I mean,
that's what I said. She's not androgynous. That's the first word that came to mind. But she's not androgynous. She's just robotic. Like you don't know if she's human or robot.
Oh, okay.
How she behaves.
Oh, weird. Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
So she's like an android. She's like not androgynous. But I don't know. You just have to check it out. But anyway, that's the fetch quest where I had to like get a couple of like cylinders and like some kind of core. And I do side quests to get all of them.
Have you put Poppy together yet, the robot?
Yeah, I've got the artificial mech. I do have that.
Okay, the artificial blade. Yeah. Have you played Tiger then?
I tried Tiger.
The 8-bit-ish game. Were you able to like get to the top? Because there's like 2 parts to Tiger.
No, I only played it one time and I failed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I actually...
I'm not very far into this game, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I played it until I beat Tiger, or like until I was able to, because you go down, like you're basically scuba diving or whatever, and you go all the way down to the bottom of the floor, and you try to get as many treasures as you can on the way down, plus gems, whatever they call them, and then once you hit the bottom of the floor, it changes to where you can't like shoot your little whatever, your little I don't know what it is, like
harpoon
thing. You can't use that on the way back up. So you just go up and you dodge everybody on the way up. And once you get to the top, they open all the treasures and then you get to see what's in there. And that's how you upgrade Poppy, the other blade. So that's kind of annoying, I guess, to a point. Like I know a lot of people have said shit about that game, just because that's the only way you can add stuff to your blade, like instead of just doing it like playing the game regularly as you do with the other blades. But I don't know, it's fine. I mean, once I found a 4th character, I basically took him out of my party. I took Nopon and Poppy out of the party, so I don't really...
I will say it's strange that they're introducing these like blades that supposedly don't follow the rules of the other blades, like early on. Like you would think they would introduce them later and get you used to how the normal blades work. But instead, you got like Pyra, who gets her energy from not the ether.
Yeah,
like she's getting her energy from some other source, and then you got the artificial blade. Like these are like two. Well, technically, the artificial blade doesn't have to be the second or third one you're introduced to, but she ended up being an early one for me. So I'm just like, well, why are you showing me all these things that break the rules before I understand the rules?
Because they're rebels. Speaking of understanding the rules, like, I mean, you probably haven't gotten to it yet, but this game takes a really long time to like explain to you all of the things that were available from the beginning in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles X, like toppling and like breaking and stuff like that. They don't explain how to do that until later, and you can't really do it until later, which sucks because that's a big important thing about fighting guys. But I'm pretty far. Like I'm probably about like, I don't know, maybe 20 hours into it. I just got Van Damme. He's a pretty cool dude. He's got a big X scar on his face. Yeah, if you haven't, you have assembled Poppy, right? But you haven't you got to the part where Nia was kidnapped, right?
Right. So I'm still in the process of rescuing her.
Are you playing the game in English or Japanese?
I've been playing it in English. I haven't downloaded the patch.
Oh, okay. It's free. You can get it from the eShop. You actually have to go.
Right, I know that.
Yeah, you actually have to go into the eShop and go find the game and go, because I was trying to find it, like when I got the game, I was really trying to find the Japanese voice, and I was like, where is it? But it's actually, you have to find the game and then go down and then select it to download. But I've been playing it in Japanese, and one thing that sucks about that, I mean, I like it better in Japanese than English, but it doesn't subtitle everything. So you know, like when you're walking around and your guys kind of like just talk to each other, or they do in battle, none of that's subtitled, so you have no idea what they're saying because it's all in Japanese. So the only thing that's subtitled is like the cutscenes, pretty much. So, but I did put it in English for a minute, and I played a battle, and that Nopon guy is like the most annoying guy ever. Because you know that thing, it's from some song or something that people say, it's really annoying, where they're like, bah, 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 like that. He sounds like that.
Oh, the Vizuela.
I don't know. Anyway, but he does that when you play him. Yeah. Yeah. No, when you play with him in your party and you're fighting, he'll go like, man, like he does like the same thing, and I'm like, oh god. I hated that when I heard it from other people before, and I really hate it now. So thankfully, if you put it on Japanese, he doesn't do that. While you're fighting, he doesn't make those weird noises. But, you know, as most all Japanese soundtracks are, there's like randomly English stuff in there. And that's what I said as my middle name is, once you get to the point where you can do chain attacks, which is another thing you had right at the beginning of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which I was actually going to like give this game a strike if it didn't have that, because I didn't feel like it did, but then you don't see it until way later in the game. Like I said, this game takes a long time to open up to that sort of shit, which sucks.
Which is what we're used to, right, with these games.
But chain attack finish, like when you do that at the very end, it's like, chain attack finish. I think it sounds funny.
Chain attack finish.
Yeah, but speaking of funny stuff, like this game is like super duper anime, like so anime. Like I don't know how I feel about that. You know, where like one moment it'll be like super like serious, and the next moment it's all like their eyes are like all weird and they're making faces, and it's like super slapstick the next, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've noticed that. Like we mentioned in the interview earlier, spoilers, but it's the very beginning of the game. Rex gets killed like at the very beginning of the game by the team that he's with, and that's like super serious and anime. I'm like, oh fuck, you know. And then later they're like, you know, they're like falling over each other and like having like the big giant wide eyes or what, you know. It like does the weird shit too, where like it's like, okay, it's much different than Xenoblade Chronicles 1, because Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was a lot more realistic, I guess, and X was as well, but this game, I guess,
it had
is
like
more
no story. It had next to no story.
Yeah,
it had a story.
It had next to no story, but there was like no real cinematic moments. Like it was all kind of like a set camera that you could move around, and it's just a room of people talking to each other. So like that part was kind of boring. But as of so far of what you played, like how would you compare it to Xenoblade X?
Well, I will say, like when I first, so I'm still really early in the game, obviously. So I got to the second continent, if that's what you want to call it, which is the town where you have to
Titan?
rescue the other protagonist or whatever. But I got up on the ledge, like, you know, I walk up like a hill or whatever, and I get up on the ledge, and all of a sudden there's just like random creatures everywhere, and I'm like, oh shit, this is Xenoblade. Like I remember this now. Like there's just all these random creatures, like as far as the eye can see, and they all have levels, like, numbers above their heads.
Yep. And there's
either they're hostile or they're not, and And I'm instantly like, oh shit, I do not want to walk that way. There's a bunch of these eagles that are level 18 and I can't fight them. And
they'll kill you in one hit.
Immediately I kind of felt like a little bit of nostalgia, I'll say. Like, because I was like, oh, I remember Xenoblade Chronicles X when I played that. This was like the same thing.
That's nostalgia for like 2 years ago or whenever that game came out.
Yeah, but still, that initial like experience, or remembering that and being like, okay, well, this is the same kind of game. That also gave me a little more confidence. Like, I can play this for a while. I think I'm going to like it.
Sure.
So I do like it, and I've definitely been overwhelmed by, like, especially walking into the town with all the labels above the different shops.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many shops in town. Like when you get there,
you just see text all over the screen, and it's a little overwhelming. But
oh yeah, no, it's definitely overwhelming. It's kind of like
it just takes some time to like kind of ease into it.
Yeah, you have to kind of, and as like the more you play it, you have to figure out like what stuff does what. It's like, what do I need to get here? What do I need to get here? Because like I was talking earlier about salvaging. Like there's a place where you need to buy like cylinders that you need to salvage. Like you have to buy them so you can jump off of the. There's like a little quick time event thing that happens where you have to hit a button, have to hit like 3 buttons in a certain amount of time, and you'll jump off a ledge, and then whenever you pull up, you get, and there's actually missions based around that, which is unfortunate. That's like one of the big drawbacks, I think, of this compared to Xenoblade X, because in Xenoblade X, you could get missions where it's like, oh, hey, go get that item, or like, hey, go kill these guys. And then you're done. But in this one, it's like, go kill these guys, and then go find 5 of this item, and then go bring it to this guy. And it's like all one mission. And I'm kind of like, man, this is super fetch questy. Which sucks.
I would agree. It does feel more fetch questy. And especially, like I said, early on when you're like talking to a bunch of people and you just keep getting assigned all these random missions.
Yeah, well, the other game...
They don't have to be like your main mission, but still, it's just kind of... I've already got a huge like back burner of stuff I need to do.
Yeah, well, Xenoblade Chronicles X and 1 were like that too. Like every time you find a new town in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, there's basically a bunch of different missions that every character will have, and you'll kind of like load them up, but you don't necessarily have to go do them. And like Xenoblade X does that too. Like as you go through the different parts of like New LA or whatever, you'll like build up more missions. And then there's of course that board, the Blade board or whatever that they call it, where you can find them from there. But one thing I think is a lot better on those games versus this game is like a guy will like tell you to do something and you go do it and then the mission's done. Like you don't have to go back to that person. And it also doesn't have multiple levels to it like these do. Like it'll be like, go kill like 3 of those bunnies, and you kill 3 of the bunnies and it's like mission complete, and then you get all the shit that you had. Whereas in this new one, you actually have to go back to town to whoever gave, and that's annoying.
So another thing that was weird for me, and like, I've been playing my Switch on, this TV since I first got it in March.
Yeah.
Never had any trouble with, like, the aspect ratio or anything. But on this game in particular, like, when it would show, like, the stuff on the radar, it would show the distance where things are away. I think that was cut off by the top of the TV screen. I don't know if you had the same problem, but I was just like, why is it suddenly like this on my TV? Like, this doesn't happen with any other Switch game.
Oh, like the compass thing that tells
actually
you where
had to go into my TV and like modify like the settings of the TV and set it to where I thought it was receiving HDMI from a computer. It was actually the setting because my TV is from 2012, so it's an old TV. But I actually had to go into a setting on the TV that said this video signal is coming from a PC.
Oh, yeah.
Once I did that, the aspect ratio was correct, but I was just really like, I had played the game for a couple hours at that point and was finally just like, why can't I see these things? Like, why can't I? And I went into the settings of the actual, like, on the home menu and everything, and you can't change the aspect ratio in that regard. Yeah. Like, all you can really do is control the brightness of the screen, and I think there might be something else you can do, but it doesn't let you control, like, you can't zoom in and out like you can on some games,
Oh, sure.
Like some games will let you, like, say, like, zoom in until you see this on the corners of the screen.
Oh yeah, it helps you adjust the screen and all that. Yeah, which I know what you're talking about. I don't remember if mine might have done that. I mean, I feel like I've had the Elgato for so long that I think I might have had to change something up. I think it might have done that too, where it cut part of the screen off. But I did it so long ago that I don't remember.
That's true. It might be because I have it outputting through an Elgato. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because I think
it's my output from my Elgato going to my TV, so it would be coming from a PC. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think mine did a weird thing too, but I think I either changed it through the settings on the Elgato or through the TV or something, but I do vaguely remember something like that happening. But yeah, so I guess you haven't had to deal with the terrible compass direction on this, right? Which I guess, have you had trouble finding stuff, like in the missions, is what I'm saying?
Oh, I have. Even now that I can see it, I do still have some trouble.
Yeah. The big thing is the verticality of things, where like some stuff is above or below you, but it doesn't really tell that it is, so you have to kind of walk around and try to find it.
Yeah, so you'll just keep walking in a direction, and then it'll start counting up, but it's still in the same spot on the compass. You're like, what the fuck? And then you have to like double back or like jump up on a higher ledge or something, and then it'll start to count down again, like you're getting closer to it.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you'll walk somewhere and it keeps going down, and then it'll freeze for a second, and then it starts to like go away, and it's like, wait, no, where was I supposed to go? And it'll end up it's like under you or whatever. I kind of had the same problem with Xenoblade Chronicles X, actually, where like you'd get to a place and you couldn't find it. It would say that you were there, and you have to be above and below, and a lot of that was fixed once you got the scale, because then you could kind of fly up or down and figure out where everything is. But this one, you don't have a scale, as far as I know, so it makes it way more difficult, because you have to, and especially later in the game, there'll be stuff where it's just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the Xenoblade games is just walking around and trying to figure out where to go next. I feel like that's what I've been doing a lot in this game, which I guess is kind of a slide at the game or whatever, but yeah, it's like, that's what I was doing like all last night, trying to get to the next part. It's just walking around and trying to figure out how to get to this stairs thing that goes to the next thing. Like, and I'm just walking around trying to figure out like how the fuck I can get up to wherever, and it gets kind of annoying after a while.
Game, like a big open world isn't always a good thing if it's confusing. Like, and these games have always prided themselves on being huge open world games, and I mean, it's very impressive. Like, you're on the backs of titans. You're on giant living creatures, and if you look at the edge of the map, you can see like the limbs of the titan poking out, flying and doing shit. So that's really cool. And then I also think it's cool, like there's a tide meter, at least in that one part, where depending on how the thing is swimming and how many clouds there are, the verticality of the level changes a little bit.
Yeah, you have to.
How does the navigation of the game compare to Zelda, where like in Zelda you can look at the top of a mountain and say, oh, I wonder how I'm going to get there, and eventually you figure out how to get there. But it sounds like you're saying that it's difficult to get around, to figure out.
You can go anywhere, it's just difficult to find the waypoints they're directing you to.
Well, you can't climb walls like you can in Zelda, so that's a big, and there's some things that like looks like you'd be able to jump over it, but you can't, stuff like that, like regular standard RPG
like invisible barriers.
Yeah. So you definitely can look around, but there'll be like, you'll get a mission that says like, hey, go find this thing for this guy, and then there'll be this compass thing on top of you, on the top of the screen that like counts down to help you get closer to that. None of that's in Zelda, because you really don't need that, because it's more about like, how do I get there? But it's more versatile about how you can climb things or whatever. But it's like, it's supposed to be, and sometimes it'll be like above a house or below a house or whatever, and it won't tell you like whether it's above or below. Like, you'd think that by now, this being like the third Xenoblade game, they should have some sort of thing that says like whether it's on your level or not. Like some little thing on the compass that says like you need to go up or you need to go down. That would really help. But a lot of it's you basically following this number that counts down. And there's like a pink one for the main quest, and there's like a blue one or purple one for the other quest. And some of the sub-quests and some of the main quests are like super duper fetch questy, unfortunately. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show about finding winding gears. Like, you find this guy and like this crane is broken, and you have to help him fix his crane. And in order to fix the crane, you have to find 5 winding gears. And you know how you find 5 winding gears? From salvaging. And you know what? It's a very small percentage of how many you get for salvaging. They're incredibly rare. So basically what you need to do is you need to get blades who have salvage mastery. So you have to go through and unlock however many common ones until you get the ones that actually have salvage mastery. You'll put like 3 of them on your team, and then you also have to buy like the best cylinders to like salvage with, so you got to save money for that. And by the time you get all this shit together, you also have to do this quick time event, and you have to get good enough to where you find like these fucking rare things. It's just, it took me forever to beat that mission because of that.
Do you end up fighting like harder enemies out of the water when you find they're more rare items? Or is it the same like randomized enemies that pop up?
What do you mean?
Well, because when you salvage, sometimes there's like bad guys you have to fight.
Yeah. Are you saying that do they get harder, like if you're using a higher cylinder?
Or if you're salvaging a better item, do the monsters that come up are stronger? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they are. There were a couple times where I was killed by the monsters that came out of the salvaging. But yeah, you need to get these specific winding gears, and you have to do all this other shit to it. And I had to look online to find it because I would have never figured it out, But it's like, that's dumb. Like, that's a side mission. It's like, compared to Xenoblade X, like I said before, Xenoblade X is much better because you can just go get an item, and you don't have to go through this quick time event where you have a small percentage of getting the rarity or whatever, There's a lot of gotcha stuff in this, but thankfully it's not tied to like...
Right, it's not pay to play.
Yeah, it's not tied to mini transactions, which it easily could be, Have you tried unlocking any of the blades or like doing any of that? Have you tried opening the cores and all that stuff? I
was actually surprised. Like, I didn't realize how easy it was to like get a bunch of blades. Like, I have a bunch of cores I haven't gotten blades out of yet because I was like, wait, really? Is it this easy to get blades?
Yeah, it is.
But it's really easy to get blades.
Yeah, but
you can get a bunch from the get-go.
But getting good ones is the difficulty.
Right, and that's like, there's these extra crystals or whatever you can apply to it when you summon them.
Yeah, I don't know if that actually does anything, because the only time I got good rare blades was from not using anything, and just from a regular common blade. I got this big balloon-looking guy, kind of looks like Baymax from that, do you remember that superhero movie? I forget what it's called.
From Baymax, he was... Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it looked like the blow-up...
Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
Big Hero 6,
Big Hero 6, thanks, John. He looks like Baymax, and I really like that character. I actually accidentally traded him to Nia, because you get like an item where you can overdrive one to another, and I didn't know what overdrive meant, and it basically sends the blade from one character to another character. So I accidentally gave him to Nia, but it turns out that he's better for her, and I actually use her now instead of Rex, because I really like that inflatable dude. But each of the blades, they all have different weapons that you get with them. So like the big inflatable guy, he's called like, I forget what he's called, but he has a ball, like, which is kind of cool. You get like a sports ball and you like hit it at people, you do like a touchdown slam, or you like smack it like a like a volleyball or whatever. So that I thought that was a really cool weapon, because I haven't really seen anything like that in a game before. And there's there's like hammers and axes and swords and spears and like different stuff like that. And like they all act as different things. Like some of them are attackers. I forget what it's like, attackers, healers, and like there's like the shield one that's like supposed to take the blunt of the enemy and all that. So it's super complicated, but I've gotten to the point where I'm completely maxed out on all my blades, and I have a bunch of cores. So it's like, I've had to like delete them to get new characters, but I wish there was a way to like, in case, I'm afraid that I'm going to delete one that I might need later, even though they're all the generic ones kind of look like Tron rejects. Their silver suits and glowing whatever. Man,
yeah. That's another overwhelming part of the game, I guess, than the blades themselves. Like, it isn't like the last game where like to get a skull you had to save up and finally get one, and then you could customize it. Like,
yeah, well, the skulls,
blades are just like completely random.
They are, but there's still like there's still a good amount of rare ones. Like if you've looked at, I think it says the Blade album. If you look at the Blade album in the menu, it'll only show you like the rare ones that you get. But there's a lot of spaces there. So I'm wondering, and I'd mentioned before, Cosmos from Xenosaga's in there. From what I can tell, I don't think she's because I thought maybe she was a DLC thing, because there's that season pass thing that you can get where you get rare blades from that. But But I think that she's just randomly in there, and you just might find her or might not, So that's kind of annoying, but I'm really happy that they didn't do any sort of like microtransactions behind that, because I could have easily did that, They could have gone like full on Fire Emblem Heroes with it, where like you have to put so much money in there in hopes to get like not a crappy blade. What about, how do you feel about the look compared to like Xenoblade X? Well, I know you like the characters better, but like the environments and all that.
The environments so far, like I haven't been super impressed with. I mean, they're pretty, but I don't know. I guess after Zelda and the other Xenoblade games, Xenoblade X, like I guess I've been spoiled, but huge environments aren't that exciting anymore.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty. I like that it's more like cel shaded this time. It looks like a lot more cartoony. And I mentioned earlier in the interview that like some of the characters look more cartoony than others. Like the main characters kind of look anime-ish, but some of the characters look like Xenoblade Chronicles X guys. Like their eyes are actually different. There's like the ones that have the big eyes, and there's the ones that have like just the little eyes. And I'm like, I don't understand like why the models are different. It seems weird, but apparently there's a lot of different artists that worked on this. So, it's made by different people, and that's why everything looks so different. Because Pyra, like the look of Pyra, which we talked about, how she's sexualized and all that. She's the only character that I feel like really looks like that. The other ones look different.
Like you said, besides that blue lady, the blind lady or whatever.
The one that, the blue lady that's with the villain, like the main villain, the one that's wearing the soldier suit.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, none of them are really that sexualized, I don't think. But that's all I've seen so far. But I don't know. I mean, I like the game for what it is. It's just, it takes a really long time to get started. And I think I'm finally kind of getting to where it might actually be getting started, And I know you definitely aren't. But how many blades do you have like on your characters so far? Like, do you have more than one for each character? Because you can set up 2 for each of them.
Yeah, Actually, I do think I set up 2 for each of them.
Because one thing that I learned that made me a lot better at the game, well, there's a couple things that you probably haven't done yet. If you have the 2 blades set, if you wait, you'll see like this little clock thing like kind of go around it.
Yeah.
And once it gets ready, if you switch from one to the other, like all of your arts will automatically be available. So you kind of like go back and forth like that, and then you can do a lot more moves quicker instead of like waiting for each of the arts to charge.
I see what you mean. Like switch between your blades and get like full charges each time.
Yeah, you'll basically start with one blade and you'll wait until the other one gets charged, and then you switch to that one and use the arts for that one. And while you're using those, your other blade will charge. So then you'll switch back to the other blade and use those arts. And that's like what I did to make me better. Also, you need to buy chips for each of your weapons. I don't know if you've done that yet.
I did do that for Pyra, but I haven't had enough money to do that for all the blades.
Oh, okay. Because that makes a big difference too. Because if you buy the right chip, it'll like make your attack power a lot larger. Like if you look at like what it does for the stats for that was another thing that like made a big difference for me. So I dabbled with that a little bit, but I didn't max all my blades. But I still, like I said, I have a lot of core crystals I haven't bonded yet. So maybe I should do that, and I need to grind a little more. I think I'm only at like I think I just hit level 10. So. Oh, okay.
I might not be ready to fight the bad guys I'm at.
Yeah, I never felt like I had to grind that much. I mean, I did lose to those guys that you were fighting at one time, but also you want to like look at like what like the little icon that's on their like HP meter, like that shows whatever they're weak against. So you can always
and then use the correct blade.
You can put the blade in there that's good for that, and also of course like buying accessories and whatnot.
I need to unlock more blades.
Have you used any of like your WP to upgrade your arts as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because you need to do that, and there's also that like skill tree
sort
like
of
thing,
almost like Final Fantasy X.
Yeah,
fuck with that a little bit too.
Yeah, there's sort of a skill tree in there also that you can add more. Like that, you want to like make sure and stay on top of that, and make sure everything's super high for that while you're doing it. It's another thing.
Yeah, I've been doing all that. I think literally I just need to unlock more blades, which I have the crystals to do. So I should do that and try to get some good blades because like that Norapon or whatever you call those characters, like he sucks. He dies like right away in that battle. Like,
yeah, you can get accessories for him to make him stronger. Like that's what I've done. What I've done with characters that die quickly is just try to like get better accessories that'll up their HP level.
In fact, like that happened with the last character too. Like
you can
do
it
last
in the
boss fight. I've always been stronger than my co-stars or whatever. So
yeah, your party. There's also in the skill tree you can do certain stuff that ups your HP in that as well, and your defense and whatnot. But with Nopon, you really have to play that fucking Tiger game to make his character better, because then you can go.
Maybe I should go back to Tiger and do that, and then I should get him some armor. Yeah, I gotta do some shit.
Yeah, you gotta. That's what I would say if you're having trouble with it. Like, go back and do that, and maybe do some side missions, ones that you can do. Some of them are some of them are too hard before you have Nia to do, but then you can come back and do them. But I say stay with it as much as you can, because it does get better, as it goes.
Oh, I'll stay with it.
More stuff.
Like I said, I do enjoy it. It's just I've been really busy. Like I haven't had to. I didn't mention it earlier, but I was writing an article for Artiboy magazine, which is supposed to come out in the next few days. So we'll definitely mention it on the social media when it comes out. But I had to do a bunch of work for that, and then I've just been sick. I had to miss a day of work because I was like super sick. I couldn't even play video games. I just was sleeping all day.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. Well, hopefully
it's all good. But so it's been a rough week, but I've been playing as much Xeno as I can. But I'm happy. I own it, so I can play it whenever. So
oh yeah,
it's right there waiting for me.
Something. Do you remember a few episodes back we talked about Super Mario Odyssey and how bad the janitor was in it, and how stuff reappears.
Yeah.
This game is so bad about that. You beat a bunch of characters and you walk a little bit away and then turn around and they're all back. It's so annoying. I've been having troubles with that. Where
about enemies respawning.
Yeah, enemies respawning on the map it's really, really quick. If you leave the level for a minute and then come back, they're all done. And I'm not even talking about going to a different Titan or something like that. I'm talking about just going to a different part of the level and then turning around and then they're all fucking back. It's really annoying. If you're trying to explore around, I found myself getting killed a few times because of that, because I have a really long battle and then I turn around and the guy's back again. I'm like, what the fuck? I did beat a guy to where I got his gravestone, to where I can revisit him and fight him again. There were a couple that I did that.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Once you get to, some of the main story stuff is pretty ridiculous. I actually had to look online for the when you get the Titan to go to the next part, that there was some really, really shit that I just would never figure out. So it is kind of you kind of do need to use help guides for it to get through. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it takes a while to get into. Is there any? Did you have any questions about it, John? You've been pretty silent over there. Are you asleep?
Yeah. How would you explain it to a person who has never played a Xenoblade game before?
Well, I know that you don't like turn-based games, and I think that this game is still pretty much a turn-based game, even though it wants to not look like one. It totally is. Like, basically, I mean, it's an RPG. It's a big open world RPG, and you control like 3 characters at once. And basically, the way it works is they'll automatically attack the bad guy, like as you're playing, and you wait for your arts to become available. Arts are basically like special moves, I guess, and you can use those in different ways to inflict more damage depending on where you stand and all that. And that's kind of how the basis of the game works. And once you get to what I was telling Jeremy to do, like switching between the blades and all that, it totally feels like a turn-based game. Like, at least I thought it did, because it's like, all right, I'm going to switch over and do these, and then I got to wait for them to recharge, and then I'll do it again. It's very much like you do a turn and then you do a turn, except for in this, it's not like you're picking attack. It's just automatically attacking you, and you're just picking the spells, is the way I would describe it, I guess, compared to regular RPGs. But it's a lot of fun. Like, it's really pretty. It's super anime. If you like anime, it's very much like that, It has a lot of the anime tropes. Like I said, where like one time it's 1 second it'll be super serious, and then the next it'll be like all slapsticky and silly, But it's kind of, it's a action RPG open world game.
It's definitely an RPG in the sense that, like, even if you're not actually colliding with the character, you might be causing damage. So, you might run away from a bad guy and they'll attack you by swinging their arm. You'll still lose like 20 hit points.
Yeah.
Even though you're like nowhere near them, because it's still a turn-based RPG. It just kind of has the appearance of an action RPG.
Yeah. Well, if you run far enough away from them and they're not shooting at you, you can actually get to where you don't get hit. And that's like, I don't feel like it's as easy to run away from guys as it was on Xeno X. Like, I feel like, it's not as easy to run away from people as Xenoblade X, but it's not as fast as Xenoblade X. Like, your characters could run a lot quicker in that. There's no like sprint button or anything like that I know. Yeah. Which is annoying.
I think when you're getting chased down, enemies seem more relentless, but they also like drop off quickly after a while. Like, you'll keep running and they'll be like right on your tail, and then all of a sudden they don't care anymore. Yeah. Whereas in X, like, you would run away really far, and you would still be taking like minute amounts of damage, even though you might not even see the bad guy anymore. And then eventually they'd finally like stop.
Yeah, I mean, some guys do that on this. I don't know if it's like the frame rate or something, but I feel like this game moves really slowly a lot of times. And I don't know if you've noticed that, especially like in the town when like you see all the people there, it kind of chugs a little bit. Like, I've been playing as Nia a lot, and she rides the tiger, and I feel like that it is slow. Like, it seems slow, especially when you get the get the balloon Baymax guy. I always felt like that was slow too, because he's huge. He's like bigger than all your guys, and he's kind of jumping along with you, but he like takes up like most of the camera. So I was trying to figure out if that was him, but I felt like the game's kind of moves slowly for the most part. It feels
slower paced than X for sure.
Yeah,
I'll call you there.
X was a lot
the
faster.
Actual locomotion from one place to another.
Yeah. I don't know if it would
How's it related to the other Xeno games, like the Xeno Saga, and Xenogears?
Well, I haven't played Xenogears. And I played a little bit of Xenosaga. And Xenosaga was different for as far as I know. But how it relates to Xenoblade Chronicles is it has the same... Well, I mean, it sort of has the same battle. The battle system has changed a lot since X or Xenoblade Chronicles 1. But it's the same sort of thing where you can like do combos with your characters. And it's very close to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 because Xenoblade Chronicles 1 had like 2 titans fighting each other. And you're like walking around on these titans. And this one has like multiple titans. This game almost feels like it could even be like a prequel to... X, because a lot of the themes are that like they're running out of resources and the Titans are dying and they're not going to have anywhere to live after that. And X starts out with them in space trying to find somewhere to live because their world has been destroyed. So it could easily be, you could say that X was a sequel to this or whatever. And that seems to be what it's about, like running out of resources, which is something, we're actually dealing with now. Whether people actually want to believe in it or not, it is a true thing, So... But I mean, it's story driven, like it's super cinematic, and that's what pulls me in for most of these games. It's just like the story and the characters and whatnot.
I just thought it was interesting that Xenoblade is on the Nintendo systems, and didn't like Xenogears begin on PlayStation? Was it PlayStation 2 or 1?
I think it was 1.
Xenogears was on 1, and Xenosaga was on 2. I think that's just Monolith Soft, like Nintendo picked them up in the GameCube days, and it was a pretty awesome score for them, because Monolith did like Bait and Kados and Well, I guess basically just Bait and Kados. But I was wondering if I was going to ask you if it had like reminded you at all of Bait and Kados, because when you're in the ship and fighting those soldiers, that kind of reminded me of Bait and Kados.
It reminded me of that, yeah.
And Skies of Arcadia as well, of course, with all the clouds and stuff. But it's weird. Like I don't know all the details as to how they got a hold of them as a second party company, but I think it's pretty fucking awesome because it's nice to have a solid RPG maker like on them that'll make exclusives as like ambitious as this stuff. Because like Xenoblade X was like super super ambitious. I mean, I know like some people didn't like it, but I had a lot of fun with that game, and I'll totally go to bat for that one. You know,
so maybe it should come back.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people should play it. I don't think I can, just because I put so much time into it that I cannot start it over again. But yeah, is there anything else you want to know? I think feel like we've covered everything I want to say about it. I mean, there's, I've only put so much time into it, so I don't really know. But
well, I think you've given me some solid advice.
Yeah.
Like, I know how I want to approach proceeding with the game now. Like, what I need to focus on, which I kind of already knew. I just didn't really feel like focusing on the details. I wanted to progress with the story.
Yeah. No, I mean, this
game definitely forces you to understand the system in order to progress.
Well, I think we talked about Bait and Kados like this before, and you said that where like you play it for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, if you weren't paying attention to what it was saying, like you need to know because it's like, all right, it's harder now.
That did happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that happened in Bait and Kados for you, and one crazy thing in this game that I didn't mention is, like all that tutorial stuff, you can't like come back and see that. Like if you flip through that and don't read it, you can't find it. Like you have to find it online. Yeah. There's no like tutorial thing that you can go to and like reread what they told you, which is a kind of an annoying thing. So you got to pay attention to that shit. So I've been reading like everything that it says like for tutorial wise, because once you go through it, it's gone. Like when they were talking about like toppling and all that, it's like they're like, you got to break and then topple and then launch, and then there's a fourth thing that I don't remember what it is, but I can't go back and look at that. I got to go find it online now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you really got to pay attention to all the shit that they tell you. But once I figured out, like I kind of figured out the alternating between the two blades. Like once I figured that out, like I got a lot better at fighting guys, and I was able to fight guys that were like way ahead of my level, and I hadn't been able to do that before. So I feel like I'm getting better at it now, especially with the chips and stuff like that, which I didn't figure that out until way past where you're at, But it's you just kind of gotta figure out what everything is and just take it all in. And more stuff will be available to you as you go, and it sucks that it takes so long to get there, but I think it's worth it. Like once you get to it, so hopefully
it'll be worth it. I mean, I hope. It was $60.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, in the end, like, it'll be a good game. That's what I'm thinking. And we'll have updates on it as we go, through the whatever. But, yeah, if you guys don't have anything else to say, let's call it an episode here.
Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, this has been episode 99. We are a NintenDomain podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson.
Jereme Rakowski.
John Nitter.
And make sure you catch our live show next week on December 15th at 11 Central Time on YouTube/Fingmater, FINGMATER. Make sure and check that out. That's our next big thing. But you can check out our videos. We have a bunch of different videos on there. You should watch the WCW versus NWO World Tour Turns 20 video that I did. It's probably my favorite video. It's only 7 minutes long, but I thought it was funny. I thought it was like one of the better ones that I did. But you can also, you can find us at wherever you sell podcasts. You can find NintenDomain Podcast. And of course, NintenDomain Podcast.com is our website where you can find most of our shit. And, if you like the show, please give us a review on iTunes because it could help people to find the show and all that fun stuff. But, until then, play some more Xenoblade and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fix those blades. Go find some rare blades. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Go Xeno those blades.
Xenoblades.